All right, welcome to the weekly rundown. This week, we're focusing on 3 political events that made my rundown list. First, a Moroccan man attempted to blow up the Capitol building on Friday, but was foiled by the FBI. Second on my list, General Motors is doing very, very well, financially at least. Mitt Romney, however, did not support the bailout. How will this affect him during Thursday's Michigan primaries? And third on my rundown list, the controversy over contraception debate. There was a panel discussion about contraception, but a certain gender was not there to partake in that discussion. And that was on my list. But first, we start with the breaking news that actually broke on Friday. A 29-year-old Moroccan man attempted to blow up the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Officials say Amin Al-Khalafi is arrested. And he is arrested, and he thought that, sorry, we're having prompter problems, but anyway, he thought that he had a vest armed with explosives. Sorry about that, we're having technical difficulties, but pretty much the video that you were supposed to see, and you can leave the prompter right there, the video that you were supposed to see was Representative Peter King, and what he was pretty much saying was how the FBI was on him from day one. Peter King of New York illustrating what Al-Khalafi's motives may have been behind that attempted bombing of the Capitol building. Officials say no one was ever in harm's way because, again, that suicide vest was not operatable. As for Al-Khalafi, he is being charged with attempting to use weapons of mass destruction against a government building. A preliminary hearing is set to take place on Wednesday. Remember Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, famously known as the underwear bomber? Well, he was sentenced to life in prison last Thursday. During the trial, Muttalib argued that a life sentence was a cruel and unusual punishment. He even went as far as saying that it will be unconstitutional. The judge obviously dismissed his argument. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argued the exact contrary. They argued that Muttalib is an unrepentant would-be mass murderer. The prosecutors even brought in a video simulating the power of the bomb that was in Muttalib's underwear. Again, I guess we're having some technical difficulties with the video. If we get that video, we're going to try to get it to you. There it is. Again, that was the video. Again, that was the power of the bomb Muttalib had on him on Christmas Day of 2009 when he tried to unsuccessfully detonate a bomb on a Northwest Airlines flight en route from Amsterdam to Detroit. Passengers on that very flight say that they heard a loud explosion that sounded like a firecracker.
Plane is going to blow up in a few seconds, but somehow, by the grace of the God, we saved on that day. So for one moment, we thought that day we're going to all die, and we were in tears, but thank God we saved. Plane landed safely, and so today is the day to serve the justice, and I'm here to give my victim impact statement.
Joining me now is Student Association Senator and Rundown contributor John Hughes. John, thanks so much for joining me. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a very, very long time now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No
It's
problem.
great to be here with you.
And when there's anything when it comes to foreign policy, I like to come to you when it comes to in terms of foreign policy. In terms of our country and being able to protect ourselves from terrorism, do you think we're ready to protect ourselves, especially in wake of what happened on Friday?
When you say protect, what do you mean by protect?
Protect in the sense, can we prevent another 9/11? Can we prevent another Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, the underwear bomber, the guy who wanted to bomb the Capitol building? I mean, if it wasn't for the FBI being in on this, I mean, he would have successfully done it. Do you think that we have measures that are strict enough to be able to protect us from something like that happening?
You threw in two totally different elements in there. The first one, dealing with more of a domestic side. And I
Okay.
would say yes, especially with the events of Friday. And in many other cases where you have the lone wolf terrorists or aspiring terrorists, they try to reach out to somebody, hopefully somebody who would be able to give them the explosive they want, or somebody that could help them pursue the goal that they have intended, to blow up a major government building, to impose a car bomb, something along that effect. And in many of those cases, you do have agencies such as the FBI really already alerted to the individual and ready to counteract that through such things as you observed Friday, by giving them the explosives, giving them the mock explosives, giving them the mock guns, and basically getting them through there and traveling through them with the justice system. So I think at a domestic level, yes, especially as you see flying, everybody sees that it's a pain to fly now, especially going through customs, going through the TSA, and I know domestically a lot of people have a problem with it. But still, that these measures are keeping us safe, in the sense that Al-Qaeda has pretty much given up using our airways as a means to attack us. But internationally, I would say no, especially dealing with countries such as where the underwear bomber flew out of, such as the Netherlands. The Netherlands really don't have that much terrorism issues to deal with on an international stage. The Netherlands really don't gain that much international attention. They're not a country like Great Britain, they're not a country like the United States, who is pretty much seen as to be one of the leading powers in the world. So they are not a major target for international terrorism by groups such as Al-Qaeda. So their screening process through their airports, and especially through international travel, would be very light, which allows for cases such as the underwear bomber, where somebody who has a route coming from Amsterdam going to Detroit, it could pose a threat to the United States. So I think that countries who deal with us, who have outgoing flights from their cities to our major cities, definitely do need to have more of restrictions on their travelers. Especially to the safety for their airlines as well, because you wouldn't want to see anything happen to their citizens, or as well as any of the planes or any of the property owned by the businesses and the aircraft companies within their countries.
With that said, though, I'm glad you brought that up, that not all countries have the same regulations, if you will, as the United States and Great Britain, and many countries like us, in which regulations are really heavy, if you will, to make sure that air travel is very safe. With that in mind, are you afraid that somebody will slip through because of that?
Somebody could always slip through, I think, especially as we've observed with cases such as the underwear bomber, where he was able to slip through. And I think it's just a matter of us, through diplomacy, expressing our desires to our allies, because many of the modernized world, especially countries like the Netherlands, are an ally of the United States. And I think diplomatically we need to start expressing that you too could be a victim of terrorism. Because the problem is, especially from the United States and Great Britain standpoint, up until the 21st century, we really have not been struck by any type of terrorist attacks. And terrorism is really the new modern day type of warfare. It's no longer countries versus countries. It's a country versus an organization that does not have a flag or any type of geographical border. So I think a lot of countries are still getting used to the idea of terrorism, and unfortunately a lot of countries are more reactionary than precautious about dealing with terrorism.
All right, thank you so much, John Hughes, and for us,
thank you
pleasure
very
to talk
much.
to you. Thank you so much. That was Speaker of the House, John. I don't know why that's in a prompter, but I guess we'll be coming right back. Thank you so much, John.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And its beauty could be gone for a lifetime. Protect our friends in the forest.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome to the 4th season of Oswego Sports Update. I'm Blaze Hill.
I'm Joe Manganello.
And I'm Adam Rupsick. Join us every Monday night at 11 for
Live
Sports.
Action.
Right here on WTOP 10.
TOP, brought to you by the letter W.
Hi, I'm CNN's Rob Marciano, and you're watching WTOP 10, your television station.
In the United States, there are nearly 1.8 million dead people who are still registered to vote. Yeah, dead people who are still registered to vote, yeah. As a matter of fact, they're the group that's most passionate about Mitt Romney. Yeah.
All right, that was Conan O'Brien poking a little fun at Republican presidential hopeful Mitt Romney. But on a serious note, General Motors is doing really, really good right now. In fact, the company reported its largest annual profit. But this would not have been possible without the 2009 auto bailout by the Obama administration. The bailout is reported to have saved thousands of jobs. But Mitt Romney did not support the bailout. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder has formally come out and endorsed Mitt Romney. But the key rundown question is, with the Michigan primaries on Thursday, virtually right around the corner, will Michigan voters go to the polls with in mind that Mitt Romney did not support the bailout that saved, as I said, so many jobs? And with that said, joining me now is WTOP's Democratic analyst Chris Raleigh and WTOP's Republican analyst, or like he likes to say, conservative analyst. He's not a Republican, he's a conservative, Andrew Metz. Thank you guys for joining me on the set. Let's, again, the rundown question. Are people going to go to the polls on Thursday when the primaries are in Michigan with in the back of their minds that, you know what, my job was saved by the Obama administration because, again, he was the one in 2009 to pretty much save GM. And Mitt Romney was against that. Is that going to hurt him?
You know, I think Mitt Romney's overall economic perspective has been very out of sync with what the majority of moderate Republicans and what the majority of voters are thinking right now. GM was not the first thing over his whole campaign so far that he has just been totally wrong and not able to support what he's been saying. He's losing to Rick Santorum right now, of all people, who is focusing on social issues.
Which is a big surprise to him, because I don't think that would you agree with me that I don't think his campaign would imagine having some type of competition with Rick Santorum. I think a lot of people in the media especially imagine Newt Gingrich, but not Rick Santorum.
See, now the problem with Santorum that Romney faces right now is that Santorum is able to, he appeals to blue collar people. He's from Pennsylvania. He only made 3.5 million between him and his wife, whereas Romney made 27 million last year. And so he's really appealing to these blue-collar voters. Do I think that this is going to make voters in Michigan want to vote for Obama rather than the Republican candidate?
The question is not whether or not it's going to be Obama versus the Republican candidate. It's going to be more particular this primary in Michigan. They will have 4 choices. Ron Paul, right? Ron Paul, Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, and Mitt Romney. So the question is, the rundown question, as we say, because this is the weekly rundown, the rundown question is, will voters go to the polls with that in the back of their mind and probably vote for Santorum, especially now that he's on fire?
Yep. Well, like I said, Santorum, he's an evangelical Christian. He's appealing to blue-collar people just because he didn't make as much as Romney. But another thing, the problem with Santorum is that, yes, he did, like Romney, he didn't support the bailout. And then another issue to raise, especially with Santorum, is that even though Romney is starting to come around and be like, well, yeah, I think the bailout was a good idea after all, Santorum is still staying strong and saying that the bailout was unnecessary. At a luncheon a couple weeks ago, he said that, quote, the bailout was injurious to capitalism. And so obviously if that starts to become public.
And that was completely just, again, he's not backing up what he's saying. We are, the United States, GM and Chrysler both are at the top of the world with, you know, the motor industry. And obviously that has helped our market, that has helped our private sector, because this isn't a nationalized motor company now. This is a private sector that is replenishing because of the steps that the Obama administration has taken. And the idea that he is just going to go after him about things like GM and Chrysler, Obamacare, saying that this is added to our deficit, which is a complete falsehood. He's saying things that are just going to really hit him in the long run. And I think not just in this upcoming primary, but in pretty much all the primaries to come.
Well, we had about, what would you say, our deficit is growing. Do you agree?
Not necessarily. That we have done some things to cut back on it.
It's been going up. You look online, you can find national debt counters everywhere, and it just continues to go up. Where are we getting the money for a $10 trillion Obama?
Where are you getting those numbers? According to the Congressional Budget Office, cutting the current system that we have right now would cost us over $160 billion.
Cost us or save us?
Cost us, because we're getting more in revenue right now, according to this new bill.
So the question is Santorum, or rather Romney, not Santorum, is he going to be hurt?
Well, are we onto Obamacare? What are we arguing right now?
We are arguing that, I am arguing anyways, that his overall philosophy is that the Obama administration has taken poor steps to help the that don't help the economy. He's saying that Obamacare is a bad idea. He was saying that GM and the Chrysler bailouts was a bad idea. And it turns out that these things were actually good ideas and that they are helping the economy.
I think that it's completely invalid to say that Obamacare is helping the economy, because it doesn't even go into effect till 2014. So you have no basis in saying that it has helped the economy. Sure, I agree with you that the bailouts.
But it's not hurting the economy, and that's what Romney is arguing.
But you still can't say that it's helping it, which is what you just said a couple seconds ago.
I want to refocus this conversation note back to GM, though. Again, Rick Perry, not Rick Perry, he's been out of the race how long now?
Santorum?
Not even Rick Santorum. He said that he was not for bailing out GM. So do you agree, yes or no, that it's going to hurt him in Michigan and probably even in the general election? Maybe not as much in the general election, but definitely this Thursday in Michigan.
It certainly depends. If Romney has had a very, very strong stance against using negative campaigns, and he's starting to, especially realizing how hard it's going to be for him to win Michigan. I think he's going to start running a couple negative ad campaigns against Santorum.
He's already been running some negative campaigns.
He has.
He's been doing it against Newt Gingrich. He's started up now with Rick Santorum.
He has, but we got to agree here that Gingrich has really been the king of negative campaigns during this race. But the people right now are agreeing with Santorum. They're agreeing with him because they see him as the blue-collar candidate. They want to pick him over Romney. But Romney's the real serious task that he has to accomplish if he wants to win in Michigan is he has to find the quotes of Santorum saying that he still doesn't support, the GM bailout, which Romney is saying that, hey, maybe it was a good idea after all.
Thank you guys for being here. One prediction, you guys are future tellers, if you will. You guys can see into the future. It's Thursday, the 27th of February. The Michigan caucuses are underway, or primaries rather. Who wins? Santorum.
It's going to be close to call. The numbers right now are 37% Santorum, 34% Romney. It's going to be really close, but I'm thinking that Romney might be able to pull it off.
All right, thank you so much, Andrew.
Thanks a lot,
always
Anthony.
a pleasure to talk to you. Can you stick around? I want to have another conversation with you. We'll be right back, but first, contraception. Still in the news. This week, a panel was held to talk about the health concerns over contraception and whether insurance companies should be forced to provide contraceptive coverage. The conversation over some people feeling that the church is obviously under attack, or that they feel that the church is under attack. This panel discussion created a huge controversy, but not necessarily because of the discussions, but because of who was not there to partake in the discussions. Next.
Okay, we're on camera 2, and we're going to get ready for weather coming up soon, and let's take camera 3.
A Nebraskan man is facing animal cruelty charges after allegedly stuffing a kitten into his homemade bomb.
All right, welcome back. Can you believe we are still talking about contraception? It's back in the news. A panel was held to talk about the health concerns and the idea of contraceptive coverage being mandated.
The rule is wrong, not just for religious conservatives, it's wrong for all Americans because it takes away the freedom of the citizens while emboldening the federal government to do whatever it wants.
We fought for a free conscience in this country, and we won't give it up without a fight. To paraphrase Martin Luther, the heart and conscience has room only for God, not for God and the federal government.
Obviously, very passionate arguments there. But the controversy that this panel has sparked has less to do with the topic at hand. If you notice there were no women being represented. Some have said that this move was insensitive to not have any, not one, women to debate and discuss that issue.
This is an issue about women's health, and I believe that women's health should be covered in all of the insurance plans that are there. Right now, as we gather here in another part of the Capitol, there is a hearing. 5 men are testifying on women's health. My colleague, Carolyn Maloney of New York, who is on the committee, looked down at this panel from which a woman who was the Democratic witness was excluded and said, where are the women? And that's a good question for the whole debate. Where are the women? Where are the women on that panel? Imagine they're having a panel on women's health and they don't have any women on the panel. Duh. What is it that men don't understand about women's health and how central the issue of family planning is to that?
All right, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi there. Joining me now is Rundown contributor Chris Lewand and Rundown contributor, she's joining me again, Chris Rowley. Thank you guys for joining me. Yeah. Contraception, still in the news. We're still talking about it.
And it's not just contraception. The mandate that Republicans are actually pushing right now would cover all private insurers, and it would actually allow them to have a consciousness clause, is what it's called. The actual mandate does not say, in particular, just religious groups. It allows anybody who has any moral objection to to anything to deny somebody health coverage of any sort. So if you don't like gay people and they're getting treatment for AIDS, you can just say, well, you're gay, so you deserved it. And they'd be able to get away with that under a consciousness clause.
Under this consciousness clause, Chris, is this a slippery slope? As she said, if you don't like gay people and you happen to have some type of STD, you can't have this medication to treat it because you are gay. Is it a slippery slope?
I never like to use the term slippery slope because a lot of stuff is just one item at a time.
Okay.
But allowing something this radical where you are allowing people or certain groups to say, I don't like that, I believe it's just an overall bad idea. Because you can't have it where, okay, a certain amount of people are being taxed for this, but if you don't want to be taxed, you can just say that you don't want it. And that's what people are going to be doing. You pay less, you don't have to do that if you say that you just don't agree with it.
Okay, I want to talk more in particular about the panel that was held in Washington, in which no women, virtually, they didn't have a voice at all because there were no women on the panel. What do you think about that? Is that was it distasteful? Was it? What do you think about it? What are your opinions about it?
It was very biased. The woman who was supposed to be able to speak, that Issa said that she couldn't speak on the panel, was going to bring up the argument that women actually need this as a health care option because it helps space out pregnancies, because it actually helps in the treatment of ovarian and uterine cysts. So that this is not just a lifestyle issue, as the Catholic bishops were saying. This is literally a health care issue. That point was never able to be brought up. And other people who wanted to bring it up, not just Democrats, were Representative Susan Collins and Representative Olympia Snowe, who actually supported legislation for the Title VII equality of the sexes. If you're going to cover any prescription drugs and insurance, you have to cover contraception too. They didn't get to speak on this panel either. I think this is something that the Beltway media doesn't talk a lot about, is that this is very much a Tea Party exclusiveness of moderate Republicans getting to represent other Republicans, moderate women of both parties getting to represent women in Congress. This is a representation issue, and this is also an issue of poor legislation.
Chris, why is this still a debate? Why do you feel that the church still feels threatened? Why the Republicans? One even better question: is this going to be good for the Republicans to even debate this, to carry this long, drawn-out debate over contraception, especially because women make up a large part of the electorate?
Mm-hmm. It's not going to help them at all, because as you said, women make up a huge part of the electorate. And then Democrats on the other side can just use the phrase separation of church and state, and instantly, a lot of what the Republicans lately have been arguing, it's down the drain because the Democrats can bring up that one simple point.
All right, thank you so much on that note. Thank you so much, Chris Lewin and Chris Rowley. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to talking to you guys again. That's going to do it for me. Thanks so much for watching. I am Anthony Hill. A little programming note, the Weekly Rundown will formally host the Student Association's vice presidential debate next week. I'll be moderating the debate between the two candidates, who are Anthony Smith and Shannon Malero. Until then, from the journalists of WTOP News, good night.